G'day fellas, and welcome to a build order guide for the English in Season 7. A brand new change just dropped for the English, where the Abbey of Kings now provides a free king upon completion. This is an insane change that gives the English the ability to be very aggressive early on with cavalry. This is brand new. We're going to dive into the best build order that you can do as the English, or at least the best build order that I've found so far. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with a standard opening here, queuing villages and moving all of our villages onto sheep. We're going to try and move our sheep under the town center, and then we're going to send our scout out. We're also going to be talking about some theory in this game. That's not part of the build order. We're also going to be talking about some theory in this game, the longer that it goes. So with one of those villages, we're going to break them off. We're going to build a house. We're going to build a mining camp. And the first villager that comes out of the town center is going to go to food. So this is called a 5-1 start. 5 villagers on food, 1 villager on gold. It will then go to a 6 villager or 6-1 start. So what we're going to then do is use our scout to move into the middle of the map, and we're going to look to try and get a second villager out here on gold. And the timing here is absolutely perfect. You can see we've got the house down, we've got the mining camp about to come up, and that second villager coming out of the town center, which is going to put us to 6-2 here, is going to arrive just as this mining camp is finished. And that's exactly what you want. And the reason why is so that your gold is gathering 20 at a time, because we need 200 to age up. That'll give us exactly 5 carries from each of these villages. So from here, we're just going to rally over to food. One of the things that you'll see I'm doing is I've got each of my sheep with 2 villagers on it at this stage. And now with my next villager, I'm going to put him onto my 4th sheep because I just sent him back. I figured, you know, we're pretty close here. We might as well go for it. Now let's talk a little bit about the Abbey of Kings and why it's actually so insane. For me, the big thing is that early aggression with the king. It buys you a huge amount of space. Now, you don't actually have to do any damage to your opponent. You don't have to kill villagers, of course. If you can, wonderful. If they leave because you killed 2 villagers on the gold mine, great. All the better for you. However, what it also does is it forces a reaction. It forces your opponent to do something. It forces them to put a tower on the gold. It forces them to build a barrack so they can protect their berries. There's lots of different things or responses that your opponent is going to do that normally they wouldn't have to do. Normally they're going to be having a great time. Like as an example, in this matchup before, by the way, I'm playing as Gemini here. This is on one of it's on one of my accounts. I'll say that much. They're all named after different AI chatbots, but I should focus right now. Let's focus on the build order. What was I talking about? Yeah, so previously in this matchup, it was basically everybody just chills out until 10 minutes. Now it's, okay, China actually has to react to the English. So what we're going to do is we're going to be very careful here. We're timing our villagers here. So we've gone up to 10 villagers on food. We've got 2 villagers on gold. These 2 villagers, we're going to move them over onto food, okay? And we're going to grab all 10 of these villagers and we're going to put them in a control group. So I'm going to put them in control group 2. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to build my Abbey of Kings on the other side of the town center. Now, I'll show you a little trick to do that. You don't have to do that. You can just run them over. But one of the key facts here is we don't want to stomp these straggler trees. Do not stomp these trees. So when you're building your house, always build it next to the mining camp. And when you're building your abbey, make sure you always build it out in the open. So for me, I'm going to go out here. So the way that I do this, I think you can, actually, I'm pretty sure with the new change, you can just like move your vills through the town center. So anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to wait for 2:15. As soon as we hit 2:15, that's when we're going to hand in, because we need to make sure that we've got villagers in queue. We need to make sure that we've got enough resources coming in so that we can continue training vills, because we never want to go idle. And now with 10 villagers, we're throwing down the Abbey of Kings. This might seem like a lot, and I promise you, this is a lot. I don't think I've ever seen competitive players go for this many villagers on an age 2 landmark. I think the most I've seen is like maybe the Malians when they're rushing it up to try and protect their pit mine. That's about it. Or maybe the Barbican from the Chinese. That's about it. So, behind the scenes, what are we doing? We're rallying here to food. So, we've got 4 villagers that are coming out to food. So, originally it was 2, then 3, then 4. So, we've got 4 on food, 10 on the landmark. I'm going to pause it right here because this is this is called the transition period. And it's quite important because in this transition period, we need to prepare for what happens in the feudal age. So I'm going to be going straight into a second town center, and this is an insanely quick second town center. Already, the reason why this town center might be delayed is because of how many villagers we've got on the landmark. Normally, you'd only have 2, 3, 4, and then all of your villagers are gathering resources that other time. Whereas here, we're rushing the landmark up, getting it very quickly up, and getting that king out as quickly as we can to annoy the opponent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rally after 4 vills on food. I'm going to rally my next villager out over to stone, and this is going to start building my mining camp. From here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 4 villagers. These guys are going to go over to stone, 4 villagers. And then 2 villagers to 1 straggler, 2 villagers to another, 2 villagers to the other. It's a bit difficult to do, so what you can just do is just grab 4 and send them to stone, and then grab the other 6 and send them to a straggler tree, but then just move them. So just use shift click. So you just go 1 and then 2 and then just down to here. 1 and then 2 and then down to this one like that. Nice and easy. So we've got the mining camp coming up. We've got our 4 villagers heading out to stone. We've now got 6 vills on our straggler trees, which are going to be chopping wood for us. And we've got 4 villagers happily, healthily training or getting enough food for us to train villagers here. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to rally a 6th villager onto stone, and that is going to be it for stone. That's all we're going to be needing for stone until we get that 2nd town center down. Meanwhile, we're going to rally our Abbey of Kings towards the opponent's base. Our town center, it's going to be rallied back to food, and you're going to see that we're going to be population blocked soon. That's very important. We're going to be listening intentionally for that sound. So here, I'm just scouting out, trying to spot where are the villagers at. You can see my scouts trying to get past here. I see 3 vills on gold. I'm not 100% sure exactly whether he's going to be able to afford going for that Barbican or not, but at this stage of the game, the most important thing is hitting the Chinese players gold and then hitting the stone. That's pretty much it. It's very difficult to hit the wood, and normally they are putting the mill under the town center. I didn't actually scout it. He's got his mill over here on his berries, so we can definitely look to hit that as well. So here all of a sudden, we're population blocked. So what does that mean? That means that we have got our villager from the town center that is going to be building our house. So the way that I do this is you can just queue up a house with a normal villager here and just shift queue it, and it will put the blueprint, but the villager will keep doing what it's doing. And then so what you can then do is like just tell your villager to go back to chopping wood or whatever it is it was doing, and then that way it cancels the blueprint. And then I just rally the town center, so you can see I've got the town center rallied onto the blueprint and then back over to the food. At this exact same point, what I've also done is we've taken 3 vills off food and we've moved them over onto wood, onto each individual straggler tree. And the idea here is that we want to keep all of these trees even. That's why we started out with 2, 2, 2, rather than just standing 6 onto one tree, because then that increases walking distance, reduces efficiency, and we want to try and maximize that as much as we possibly can. So here, it takes 15 seconds to get that house up and it takes 20 seconds for a villager to come out. So this should guarantee that we're always going to have this house up before we get population blocked. So now, we just continue training villagers and rallying to food, and we begin hunting. We begin looking. We begin trying to spot out any villagers that we can. Scout back here. And this is going to mean that our opponent needs to issue some sort of response. Are they going to put down an outpost? Are they going to put down a Barbican? Are they going to put it? Because normally when you're playing the Chinese, as we're about to strike, normally when you're playing the Chinese, you want to look for your Barbican on your gold, on your stone, or in a position that secures a little bit of food. So here as an example, you could look for a Barbican out here. This is a nice little spot. If you want to go Barbican and then second TC back here, secures up this area, probably get a nice little wall off as well. That would be a really good spot. But one of the things that we do is by putting pressure on here, and you can see that we're just being annoying. We're locking down the stone, and we're just going to be able to chill here all day. And remember, we've got health on our king that we can play with because he is going to be healing up. So the most important thing is do not let the king die. I play a little bit bold here. I'm not sure if I actually get this villager. You can see sometimes the king's a little bit weird. I don't know if you guys saw that, but like I'm just right-clicking it, and he doesn't really follow the villager. So I think you do need to actually micro the king right there. But you see, he's going to throw down the Barbican at the back, and this all just comes down to poor mill placement. If this mill had been under his TC, then he wouldn't need to place the Barbican here. He could then save the Barbican for over here. You know, all those sorts of things. So let's focus less on what's happening here, and let's focus more on what's happening in the base. So this whole time, we've just been rallied out over to our, I guess technically to our house, and then going over to our food. Does that actually pop out over there for the yeah, it does. Okay, so it's telling them go over there, go to the house, and then come over to the food. So a little bit of a mistake here from me, but we will see our town center time here. This is a little bit late, 5:04. I can actually get a 5 flat, but that's still pretty damn good. 5 minutes flat, and that's after going for the Abbey of the King, or Abbey of Kings, with 10 villagers. That is absolute insanity how quick this town center is, because that's about as quick as you can normally do it if you're playing as the English. Maybe a little bit long, maybe 5 or 10 seconds higher. But anyway, let's focus just a little bit over here. I mean, realistically, you guys know the rules, right? Like, we're just trying to kill villagers. I go way too close to the sun here. But of course, because it's the king, because he's a hero, he survives on 8 health. And because of that, he's able to heal back up. And remember, because he's alive, he can still apply pressure now. And this is a massive issue. If he had taken the king out, I would be in a really bad spot here. But I managed to keep it alive. I managed to squeeze it out. And that means he's going to have to think about walls. That means he's going to have to think about more than just this Barbican. He might have to go into a racks. And what are we going to do? We're just going going to go live our best life as the English. So not only are we going to go into 1 TC extra, we're going to go into a 2nd TC extra. That is correct. So I wouldn't recommend this. This is definitely a more advanced build going after this point. So I would say up until this point, this is all definitely something that you could do. The main... Ooh, let's get rid of that UI. Let's bring that back in. So the main thing that we would do from here is you could look to play Feudal. And this would be a really strong Feudal Age because you've got 2 TCs, you've got a really strong defense, and I would be looking to go into archery ranges. So I would think maybe I want to do a little bit of a wall up, so I might wall towards the front here, might put a little bit of a wall down here just so he can't get through. And then what I would be looking to do is put down my archery ranges and then start adding in longbows. Now, that's not what I do here because typically at the higher levels, it's more focused around greed. And especially in this matchup, you do want to go 3 TC just to match the Chinese. You can go 2 TC and the King's Palace, but it's not really relevant. So let's talk a little bit about why this change is actually so big for the English. So previously you had to go for the council hall, right? There was no real decision-making process. It was always just the council hall. And that was great because it gave you production in the mid-game, it gave you production early, it gave you flexibility early. But the reason why this king is so powerful now is because you don't actually have to invest anything into it. You just get the landmark up and it gives you the king for free. Now, if you lose the king, you will have to pay for a replacement king. That is correct. They do come expensive. You know, normally it's just your firstborn child, but in this game, unfortunately, you do have to fork out quite a bit of gold. And one of the things to note is the king is an absolute madman when it comes to healing. Like, we are talking a lot of healing already. I was down on 8 health. I've taken a couple Barbican shots since then. So now I can come back in, and I'm looking to put on pressure. I'm here inside the Chinese base. We can spot that stone. We can see he's only just started it. We're going to get a swing, and he kills the villager inside. That's correct. I don't know where that villager body is, but well and truly dead. 0 out of 8. And so now we can just kind of sit here and just be annoying, and you can gauge how much health that you've got and how many shots that you can take. So I know I can take a shot right there without as long as I don't take more than 1 shot, I'm fine. And that's essentially it. So now we're going for a 3rd TC. I really regret the placement of this town center. General rule to follow is 3rd TC should always be on the gold, or if you're going only 2 TC, then always put that 2nd TC on the gold, just because we don't want to be denied gold, because that could be a really big problem for us. Meanwhile, we're just going to go into lots of farms. So let's talk more about that English theory and the reason why Abbey is so strong. So the big thing for me is mainly your ability to force a response from your opponent. They have to, so here, normally what the Chinese player wants to do is he wants to go into Song Dynasty, he wants to go into the 2nd TC, and he doesn't want any arguments about it. He just wants to be able to do it. But here we see that the Chinese player has had to go into a stable, he's had to throw down a barracks, and then only then he can throw down that town center, and he feels safe to do that. Not to mention the little bit of walls that we've got here, and the Barbican in the back of the base. All of these things really contribute to the pain that the Chinese player is feeling right now, and that all just simply goes down to the king that I get for free. It's absolutely crazy to me that the devs made this change, because I tell you what, if I had known that, like, I don't know if I would have supported it. I would have found it quite interesting, and I mean, it is definitely an interesting change, and it definitely makes the Abbey of the Kings more viable, we'll say that much. But my fear is that it might be a little bit too much, because even at this stage, I think I might have killed 1 villager. 2 villagers. Okay, so we've got 2 villagers already, which is nice. We've got a 10 villager lead here. And remember, in this matchup, normally, China wouldn't have that English wouldn't have that villager lead for very long. Or not this big, this early, right? Like, it does build up, but it's not that big this early. The main reason is because this town center is now so late. So there's all of this fallout, all of these ramifications. So here we got ourselves a little bit of a problem, and you can see why I should have been putting that town center down on the gold, because now this is going to delay everything, because what I'm now looking to do is to go Castle Age. So for me, it's all about getting the double broadaxe, and then from there, I'm going to get my specialized pick, and then I'm going to get my horticulture, and then I'll get my wheelbarrow. And this right here, hitting the gold, is actually so smart, because it's going to delay all of those things. It's going to delay castle, and you can see, even though I'm trying my best here with my vills, it's still annoying. It's still frustrating to have to deal with this, so we're just going to wall it up. We don't know whether there's going to be more horsemen coming through, but this was actually a pretty smart decision from my opponent to hit the gold. But this all just could have been, nullified by me just putting that town center on the gold. There would have been no problems. So, one of the other things to note is that when it comes to playing the English in Season 7, sheep spawn a little bit differently, and we have to be really careful about how many villagers we keep on our sheep. Ideally, we want to exhaust all of our sheep, But one of the things to remember is that we don't want to do that too fast. So here, as an example, I've exhausted my sheep. I've got 8 villagers that are standing here, and this means that I haven't put enough villagers onto wood. So at the moment, I've only got 12, which is pretty standard, but I think I only picked up about 4 or 5 sheep this game. So I don't know whether he's just picked up more sheep than me. Looks like he definitely has it. Look how many vills he's got. He's got 16 vills on sheep, and he's still going. So he definitely picked up more than I did. But what we're going to do is we're going to transition over to farms. This is going to be absolutely amazing for us in the early castle age, because it's just going to mean our food economy is safe. Our food economy is insane. We've just got some of the best food in the game right here as the English. What are we baking? We're probably baking something. Baking bread. Speaking of baking, you know what my wife cooked up? She cooked up some hot cross buns. She cooked up 20 of them. What am I going to do with 20 hot cross buns? And you know the worst part? She said to me, oh, you wait and see what's inside. It had Biscoff inside. Do you guys know what Biscoff is? Go Google it. It's like, it's kind of like, how would I describe it? It's kind of it's got the sweetness of caramel and the texture of peanut butter, but not quite. Like, it's a little bit more starchy, I guess I would say. Anyway, it's incredible. It's incredible. I don't know. What am I going to do with it? What am I going to do? I can't just keep letting her cook like this. This is amazing. I can't stand it. Anyway, it's one of those, it's a first world problem. We got ourselves another little bit of a raid coming through. Once again, this can all be neutralized by just putting a TC down. So if there's one thing I can tell you guys today, it's please put your town centers on gold. Don't do drongo stuff like this, because it feels bad. All right, so I'm going to be moving into the White Tower. I'm a big fan of this landmark. I think this is one of the best landmarks that you can get as the English. Even though the King's Palace is a cool landmark, it's a town center, and we all like town centers, and we all like more town centers. At this point, I'm already 67 villages. So if we extrapolate what 3 town centers will do in 10 minutes, you're going to be talking about, 6 villages, or 3, 6, 9, so that'll be 90 villages in 10 minutes versus 120. I don't need 120 villages in 10 minutes, man. I don't even need 90. Like, I'm almost already there, right? Like, I would have to be talking about maybe like a 5 or a 6 minute timing window. And compare that to the White Tower and the flexibility, the production that it provides. If I need springlets, which I'll tell you now, you're going to need in this matchup up against the Chinese. They love to go into their siege. You can just do it at the drop of a hat right here. So that's going to be a really big factor. Now, I haven't played English in a long time. The last time I played it was the FFA, and before that, probably like 12 months ago. It's been a long time since I've played them, so I'm pretty rusty here, so you'll have to excuse my macro. It's not the best. The idea in my head was I want to go for a double monastery. That's why I need all that extra wood. Really, call the macro police immediately. And we're going to look to try and pick up some upgrades early on here. So, general plan here for me, and this is, the case with most English players, we want to do some combination of infantry. So, spears, crossbows, add in some men-at-arms if you're feeling it. Not so much longbows. Longbows are very wood-heavy, and normally you've got so many competing priorities when it comes to wood. Like, if I've got any extra wood, that's farms, that's more production facilities that I can throw down, that's walls that I can put up, outposts that I can put up. There's so many things I want to spend my wood on. And longbows, if I want to go into my longbows, then that's fine, but then it means I'm losing synergy out of things like my farms. I really want to be going into lots of farms, and when you look at the cost of units, say like, okay, so here we've got spearmen, it's a 3-to-1, we've got men-at-arms, it's a 5-to-1, crossbow, it's a 2-to-1, and then you've got the longbow, which is the opposite direction. So we want to avoid it, pretty much not at all costs. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I don't really prioritize the longbow, and I kind of stick to these food-heavy units. It just makes it a little bit easier to macro, especially when you've got nice farms like this. But anyway, that's pretty much it. I mean, I can show you the rest of this game if you're interested in it. But to be honest, there's really not much more to it. At this stage, I've already got a nice little villager lead. I'm going to get the relic lead. I'm going to go Imperial Age before my opponent. I'm going to make sure I secure gold. That's a really big thing. You want to try and secure gold. I've already got... I don't know how I got this gold. Like, it just gave me a big gold right in the corner. I guess it probably has divided the map from this corner over to here. And it's like, okay, that's fair, right? Like, anything above here, well, that goes to him. But, I mean, that doesn't really make sense because then this one. But I guess the point is you want to secure gold, right? That's the most important thing to be doing in the mid-game. So you try and think about it as objective. So what do I want to secure? First, I want to secure relics. Then I want to secure my base. So that's why we put these walls up, just to make sure that we don't get any annoying raids that are coming through. Hint, 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 hint. And you can see the timing on this, right? Like it's looking a little bit sus. Not sus. That's probably a word I shouldn't use in this context. It's looking a little bit scary. But yeah, the main goal is secure relics, then secure the base. then secure the gold. That's pretty much it. Look to get keeps online. You probably can't wait for Berkshire, so just throwing down a keep is always really, really nice. But yeah, look at this. Probably, what, 10 seconds? Maybe not 10 seconds, maybe like 15 seconds, and we would have had the wall secure. We got the wall secure to the front. Maybe if we just brought a few more villages. I think how many villas did we bring? Maybe 4 or 5, so maybe if we brought 6 or 7, then it would have come up. But it's those small little decisions that you can never really be sure of. But we handle it, we handle it. How many vills do we lose? We lose a lot of vills this game, I'm going to be honest. My control was not the best. So let's 8x this bad boy. So we cleaned that up. He only took out 8. Let's mute. Let's mute the game. Lots of production. Lots of production. You can see right now, we're having a little bit of trouble here with our resources. We're obviously thinking about going Imperial Age. Probably could have done it with the Berkshire, even though I said, you know, don't do it. But my thinking was I want to try and get out a big massive infantry and push him. And he's going to throw down the keep. Obviously, we always challenge when there's a keep. And here, as I mentioned before, when you see all of this siege, what do? You go to your White Tower and you say, hey, White Tower, can you make me some Springolds real quick? And he makes them double the speed of everybody else. And he rooms them out for you. So that's always really, really nice to have. So you can see we've got 3 Springolds there. That's going to be our 4th one. Oh, that's awkward. Something else came in. I didn't realize we had 3. Oh, yeah, 3 monks. That makes sense. So we're just looking to focus down the enemy nest of bees. We don't care about the enemy Springolds. All we care about is the nest of bees. We just want to take them out first because we're outnumbered. And we're, of course, going to be okay. And then while we're doing that, we're just buying time because our keep is coming up. And once our keep is coming up, then we have secured the gold. And once we've secured the gold, we've denied it from him. And of course, we're always going to gather our gold out here first. So you can see I've got gold in the base here. This has got 3k on it. This is a massive mistake that I'm taking this. I think I've only taken this because I didn't have the ability to secure it at this stage. And we've also got this gold, and we've also got the gold in the back. So we always want to prioritize the gold that's out on the map before our safe gold. That's obviously with exception to the very first gold that you've got, which you don't want to be. I don't want you to be a minute and 30 seconds into this game gathering gold up in the middle of the map like an intermediate AI. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, at this stage, like my advantage is pretty big. The fact that I've made it to this stage of the game with even Vill count, haven't lost a huge amount, only lost 8 workers. And as long as I can get to Imperial before him and get my upgrades, and I think another big part of this matchup is like securing your sides. So just making sure that you fight down the middle because the Chinese love to run you around. They're very, very good at it with their palace guards. So you've got to be careful of that. And you just got to try and keep them on focus. It's kind of playing against the Chinese is like fighting against your wife if you've ever done that. I don't know. There's a lot of good comedians that make jokes. I think Bill Burr probably does it the best where he talks about, you know, when you're having an argument with your wife, you got to remember, like, you want to try and keep her on the subject. If she tries to bring something else up, you're just like, no, we're not talking about that. We're focusing on this right now. And it's exactly the same with the Chinese. Like, they might come up here with some palace guards and a battering ram, and you just got to shut that down immediately. You got to send up just a couple little units. It's like, no, we're fighting in the middle. We're just going to be fighting in the middle. And that's the way I think about it. You know, that's yeah. That's probably the worst analogy I've ever done. So hopefully I didn't offend anybody, but that's the way it is. All right. Heaps of production coming up here. How much production does he actually have? Not a terrible amount, though. Not a terrible. Let's do a comparison. He's got 642. I got 16.3. Yeah, so I'm up about 10 production facilities. And that means that when we fight like this, I'm just going to be able to flood and remax very, very quickly. So he's going for the Great Wall Gatehouse, so that's why I look to push this, because I want to deny it, but I realize I don't really have the ability to do that. I definitely don't have the mangoes that I need to take out this big mass. So that is an issue because now the big boy's online, and once the Great Wall Gatehouse is online, you pretty much got a siege control until you've got bombards to clear it, or trebs. But I don't like trebs clearing the Great Wall Gatehouse, even though technically it's great because you're not killed by them, or this won't kill you. The trebs kill it too slowly, and because of that, you can just heal it because the Great Wall Gatehouse has got a lot of health, and it also costs wood to heal. So I'm always a big fan of bombards. So ideally, you want to move into like 2 bombards, 3 bombards, something like that, to kill the Great Wall Gatehouse. Anyway, continuing to mass hand cannoneers together with men at arms. That's going to be our combo. We're picking up enclosures. Jeez, how much does it cost? It's so cheap, dude. I should have gotten this earlier. I think we've got tithe barns as well. We've got all the important Imperial Age upgrades. Of course, we've got our roller shutter triggers as well, which is by far the best upgrade that you can get in Imperial Age because it just guarantees that you win all your fights. And that's pretty much it. We actually managed to take all 3 sacred sites just for the memes, but yeah, that's a game. How are we doing on income? Let's have a quick look here. he's actually not doing too bad. We're pretty even Stevens at the moment, I would say. But just remember, we've got gold control, right? Like, and he doesn't really have the ability to take our gold off us. Like, we've taken this gold down here as well. And we're also denying him this gold with our Berkshire. I didn't really like my Berkshire location, but I kind of figured, you know, like, this is probably the best spot because it will deny that gold from him. And then I kind of knew if he doesn't have that gold, then he probably doesn't have any other gold available to him. So if he can't get this gold, and you can see right now he's only on 6 gold, then there's really not much he can do, and we just flood him with units, and at the end of the day, all he's going to be able to do is maybe make a couple palace guards, and that's pretty much it. If we check in the base, yeah, oh no, there's 1 gold back up here. It is a 4K, he's got 4K on it, so he did the right thing and left it to the end. Not the most optimal placement on that mining camp, I'm going to be honest. You probably want to delete a farm, but yeah, he's gone for a little bit of a raid as well. Doing a good job here. He's taken out 48 vills this game. I'm impressed that he got 48 vills, dude. That's kind of wild when you think about it. That I lost 48 workers. I didn't even notice it. I was like, oh, that's just more room for an army to kill you with, and that's exactly what we did. That's a huge issue though, right? Like if I was against, I'm not sure how good this guy is. I think maybe like mid diamond, somewhere around there. Just keep in mind, you know, this I'm not doing a show match right here. Like this is purely educational. But if I was against, say, a Conk 3 player, I suspect I would have been very much punished by these Palace Guard run-bys, just because I haven't secured my stone walls. And I probably want to get a couple more production buildings out on those edges just so I can clear them up. Yeah, stone walls are really, really important up against the Chinese. But yeah, would you just want to try and keep the Chinese player on task, try and keep him towards the middle, say, hey, come on, let's fight here. And I think the best way to do that is just continuing to apply pressure, just like we're doing here. Make him always come back here. Make him feel like if I send any units out, then I might die at home. That's always really important to do. That like they don't want to leave any of their units to waste. But yeah, essentially that's it. That's the late game. You can see we're miles ahead when it comes to the military count. And from the economic side, he's got plenty of resources in the bank, but not a whole lot of gold, as we have already discussed. Not to mention the fact that not a lot of production either, and that could definitely hurt. He has added a little bit more in, but yeah, ideally at this point, you want to go big, or you want to go home. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this build order guide, and if you've got any questions, leave them down below.